Hello ladies and gents, and welcome back to another episode of Transfer Talk, where we take the biggest transfer rumours and confirmed transfers, put them into Football Manager and see how the players would perform at their new clubs. Today we are in Liverpool looking at Lautaro Martinez, I know, twice in 2 videos, but it is a rumour, Koulibaly and Thiago. Is it Thiago or Thiago? Thiago, I imagine it's Thiago. 3 massive names as always, and as you can see, Martinez is the only one to have featured in the last pre-season friendly. So, I mean, it's not a great start, is it? We all look at Martinez first. Of course, he was in the last episode when we looked at transferring him to Barcelona. He's a top striker, only 21 years old, currently at Inter Milan. Has had 2 very good seasons there since joining from Racing, was it, I think, from before? Yeah, so didn't score too many goals in the first season. Of course, has done very well this season. Moved for 22 million back in 2018. Could be on his way to Liverpool, the current Premier League champions. It'd be interesting because I think he's a very different striker to someone like Firmino. So if he was to move in at Liverpool, then I say it would be something as more of an alternate option to Firmino, maybe, instead of a replacement. I mean, doesn't he replace him, does he? I mean, everyone loves him, including Klopp. So I'm not sure from that. But he is rumoured to go to Liverpool. It looks like he's rumoured everywhere, really, other than Inter Milan. But a top striker, did well in the last episode when we put him at Barcelona. How well can he do in the Premier League? Looking next then at Kalidou, Koulibaly. I mean, they've already got 1 star centre-back in Virgil van Dijk. Some people say he was the missing piece to getting that Premier League title. Imagine having Koulibaly to sit next to him, because I mean, they've got Lovren, well, they haven't anymore, but they've got Matip, they've got Gomez, they've got some players who aren't bad at all, of course, at centre-back, but imagine having 2 absolute world-class centre-backs. I mean, it feels like, I said this in a previous episode, teams at the top of the Premier League at the moment seem to all need centre-backs. Koulibaly is an elite centre-back. Just look at these attributes. Physically, he is immense. Mentally as well, very good, and of course, does the defending very well in terms of technical attributes. Can pass the ball a bit as well, can play, so I mean, he could be a decent ball-playing defender, which kind of Van Dijk bosses at the moment, so he wouldn't have to be that as such, but the pace he's got as well means he can cover around the back. I mean, the Liverpool defence is already amazing, of course, but it could be made even better if Koulibaly arrived from Napoli. Only went to Napoli for 5.75 million, and before that from at Genk, only 1.1 million, so I mean, in the past, he hasn't moved for much money at all. I suspect if he was to move to Liverpool this time around, he would go for big money. Since that time in Napoli, of course, he's developed very well. Now 28, so kind of in his prime, you'd say. It would be an unbelievable signing if Liverpool could get this one over the line. I think they obviously won the Premier League this time around, but a lot of teams have already started to strengthen. I mean, you look at Chelsea, Man City have already brought in some players. Arsenal, I mean, probably one less to worry about, but if you don't improve, if you stand still, you end up going backwards. So, I mean, it could be a big acquisition to get someone like this in. And finally then, Thiago or Thiago. I haven't decided which one we're going to go for yet. I think I'm going to say Thiago. I think that's right, but I'm not sure. He looks like the one that's closest to happening at the moment out of the 3. I saw today, apparently they've agreed a 4-year contract with him, which of course will get sorted after Bayern Munich win the Champions League. I mean, I've gone out there and said it. I think they're going to win it. I mean, I think everyone does now, to be fair. But 28 years old, currently at Bayern Munich, of course. A top centre midfielder. One of my favourite players, actually, in world football. He's just so classy on the ball. Has so much flair about him as well. He's just good. In terms of Football Manager, his attributes are very well-rounded, and of course, he's just composed. He's got that flair, as I said, of 18. I mean, he's not overly fast, not your real mobile player, but is just very classy on the ball. One downside might be the fact he avoids using his weaker foot, or so it says in Football Manager anyway. He's also not that strong, but as I said, I mean, he's your flair player in the centre of midfield, which, I mean, when you look at the centre midfields of Liverpool at the moment, it feels very workman. I mean, you look at Henderson, of course, who to be fair does quite a bit going forward compared to what he used to do. I mean, you look at Fabinho, though, is very like a bit of steel in the centre. Someone like Thiago to come in and play that centre midfield role and provide a bit more flair, a bit more goals from midfield as well. Kind of like how Oxlade-Chamberlain does at the moment, of course, without the pace and without the driving run forward. I mean, I think it gives them a very new option in the centre of midfield. And I think it could be an unbelievable signing if they got it over the line. So there we go. Then there was a quick overview of the 3 players we're looking at today. Of course, this Liverpool side is unbelievable, as we already touched on. They won the league this season. They won the Champions League last season. I'll be amazed with these 3 players in if they don't win the league and Champions League at some point throughout these 3 seasons. But let's go to the end of season number 1 and see how they've performed. Here we are then at the end of season number 1. Let's type in Liverpool in the top search bar and see how they have performed then in the first season. I've clicked on the wrong one. First in the Premier League, as we predicted, they have won the league. Looking at the last game of the season, I'm not sure what competition this was in. They could have won the Champions League, of course. Koulibaly is in there. No space for Martinez up top, but Thiago does make it into the centre of midfield. Of course, as I said, Firmino, probably wouldn't get replaced by Martinez, probably would be an alternate option. But let's look at their fixtures first and their competitions and see how they got on. They played in quite a lot. Of course, they won the UEFA Super Cup. Who did they play in that? Of course, Chelsea beat them 2-0. Nice to see. The Premier League, they won by 14 points. So kind of similar to this season. They won the Premier League by a large margin. Arsenal actually in second. I'm not sure anyone would have predicted that. In the semi-finals of the Champions League, they got knocked out by Paris Saint-Germain in the end. So, I mean, didn't win it, but got quite far as well, as you kind of expect from a Liverpool side. In the FA Cup, they finished runners-up. Who did they play in this final then? They played Arsenal, actually, and lost 3-1. So, not ideal for Liverpool again. In the Carabao Cup, got knocked out in the semi-final by Burnley, but not too bothered by that. And they did win the Community Shield by... Who won the FA Cup last season? Man City. I can't even remember that. So, they beat Manchester City 3-2 in the most glorified friendly of them all. So, on a whole then, from Liverpool, quite a solid season. Got to the semi-finals of the Champions League, which is not bad at all. They won the UEFA Super Cup, as you'd expect, against a team like Chelsea, who didn't do very well, came in fourth in the end, exactly the same as real life. Carabao Cup we're not too bothered about, and yeah, so a very good season. Let's have a look at the players themselves then and see how they perform, starting off with Thiago as he played that last game. 29 years old now, of course, up to £69 million is how much he's worth. He played 27 games in the league, scoring twice, getting 9 assists, a lot of assists from him then. Looks like he played quite a lot of games, only missing out on 11 altogether. Started 41 games in all competitions, only 22 of those coming in the league. So played just about half, just over half in the end, coming on 5 times as well. So playing in the 27 games, as we've already seen. 6.9 on average rating isn't too high. It's below that 7 mark that we always look for. Of course, his stats are not bad, to be fair. 9 assists and 2 goals isn't terrible. Overall, got 15 assists in all competitions, which is very good. 4 goals as well. The other 2 coming in the Cup. 1 assist actually coming in the Cup as well. 5 in the Champions League, so that's pretty impressive. Didn't get sent off. That's always something we look out for, but didn't get sent off. So not too bad from Thiago, to be fair. First season in England. Didn't play all the games, but still contributed with a decent amount of goals and assists, to be fair. Moving swiftly on then to Koulibaly at centre-back. So I always find these videos quite difficult to judge whether a centre-back's done too well, because of course they're not going to pop up with as many goals and assists. I mean, evident. I haven't even looked at this, but evidently he played 27 games, didn't get a goal or assist, but just over that 7 average rating. So you'd imagine with a team that came top of the league, he did his job quite well in keeping the goals out. I mean, maybe we should just look at Liverpool's defensive record then. I mean, that would probably be a good place to look. If we look at the league table then, how many goals against? Only conceded 29 goals then altogether. So, I mean, the defence on the whole has done pretty well. And I think Koulibaly would have been a big part of that, to be fair to him. How many games did he play in the league again? 27. So, weirdly, again, for a centre-back, didn't cement his place in that back four. Was it for an injury, maybe? Doesn't look like it. He had a twisted ankle and tight groin at a couple of stages, so he would have missed a few games from that. But he played a decent amount, to be fair. Starting 47 games in all competitions then. It's mad, actually. I always forget how many competitions and how many games these top clubs in England, especially England, play. I mean, with all the cup competitions and then getting far in the Champions League, they play a lot of football, don't they? So, of course, they've got the Club World Cup coming up soon at some point. So that will only add to the schedule. So Koulibaly's done all right, I think. I think we can say he's not done too badly. I mean, of course, didn't contribute with any goals or assists, but they conceded only 26 goals, so very solid from him defensively, you'd think. Anyway, we're going to guess from that. Lautaro Martinez then, of course, didn't play that last game. £73 million is how much he's worth now. He played 16 times in the league, then not too many, but scored 10 goals out of those 16 games. That's unbelievable. He only started 13 of those as well. I mean, very impressive from him. None of those were penalties either. He got 1 assist in the league, a 7.71 average rating, which of course you'd expect to be high, bearing in mind he scored that many goals in such few games. Started 23 games overall, then coming on 6 times, 19 goals in all competitions. He was scoring all over the place, 2 in the Champions League, 7 in the cup competitions. He got 3 assists over the 2 cup competitions as well, so 4 altogether. A very, very solid season from Lautaro Martinez. For someone who hasn't played that much, it looks like he really grabbed his chance when he got it and scored a lot of goals. 19 goals from 23 starts is very, very impressive. And then 4 assists as well. For someone who isn't known for creating as many chances, again, very, very impressive from the lad. I mean, as we said in the Barcelona video, as we go through the seasons and he starts to develop even more, you'd think he'd get more of a chance in the first team, really establish himself at Liverpool in English football, and then hopefully he'll score more and more goals over the next 2 seasons. 3 very, very solid seasons then for our 3 lads. It's looking good after season number 1. Let's head to season number 2 and see how they get on then. Season number 2. Let's see how Liverpool have performed in their competitions this time around. Let's hope they've won the Champions League. That's what I want to see. But they have won the Premier League as we kind of expected. Let's go straight to their competitions. I haven't even looked at who played that last game. Knocked down the semi-finals of the Champions League again this time around to Atletico Madrid. Looking back at the Premier League then, only won it by 3 points this time around. A very low points tally to what they used to, only getting 86 points. You wonder whether maybe the defence faltered or maybe the attack didn't score too many goals. So could it be down to Lautaro Martinez or Koulibaly, in which the title race was so close this time around? In terms of the FA Cup, they got knocked out in the 5th round by Chelsea. They did win the Carabao Cup, so I mean, I suppose that's something. And of course, again, won the Community Shield, the most glorified friendly in club football. So let's look at our players and let's see how they did perform. Go back to this screen and see who played the last game. Lautaro Martinez actually played the last game up top. £81 million now the 23-year-old is worth, the Argentinian, who's got an unbelievable Argentinian record forming again, as we saw in the last episode. His attributes are unreal as well. What a player he is. I'm still yet to manage him in any of my saves this season, and I definitely need to. How many goals did he score this time around? 14 goals in the league then, playing twice as many games as he did the season before. Started 40 games across all competitions then. 22 goals as well. I mean, a very good season from Lautaro Martinez. He started to do very well in a Liverpool shirt only 2 seasons in, getting 8 assists as well. 5 of those coming in the league. He got a 7.52 average rating, so a little lower than the season before, but played a lot more games. So it's harder to perform at a really high level for such a consistent amount of time. Only missed out on 6 league games then altogether. I mean, 14 goals is a very good return from him. One thing I have just noticed then, Florentino Luis now plays for Liverpool in the centre of midfield there, so it might mean that Thiago's been pushed out. He's a bit more defensive minded though, Luis, so that's an interesting one. And then Skriniar is actually in centre back, so maybe Klopp doesn't fancy Koulibaly after all. Let's find him and have a look how he performed this time around. See if he performed in many games at all. See if he played many games. Wasn't even on the bench in that last game, which does worry you slightly. £65 million he's worth now. 29 years old, getting towards the end of his career. Be interesting then, if we go over to this and he hasn't played that much, maybe they're looking to offload him, but only played 14 games then this time around. Again, no goals, no assists. It looks like Skriniar's come in and taken his place. He got 1 assist in an international game, and that was it. He didn't really do much at all. Only started 12 games, so it was definitely a sub. Not really a sub as such. A player who's been used for rotation most of the time. Skriniar's come in, taking his place from the season before. Presumably the Liverpool defensive record this time around is worse. I mean, only just to be fair, from 31 goals, so it's not terrible. They've still scored a hell of a lot of goals as well. It's mad that they only won the league by 3 points, losing 6 games. Not something we associate with the Liverpool at the moment, to be fair. They barely ever lose, but 6 games they lost this time around. 86 points, as we already touched on. Koulibaly is out of the team, not good. And then finally, let's look at Thiago then and see how many games he performed. Of course, another player who wasn't in that last game. Was on the bench though, which is different to Koulibaly. 30 years old now, £66 million is how much he's worth. How many times did he play this time around? 23 times, scoring once, getting 3 assists, a 6.84 average rating, so lower than the season before, playing less games. So he even played worse across those less games than he did the season before when he played 4 more appearances in the Premier League. The average rating is not good, is it? So yeah, no surprise that Luis is coming and taking his place. He only started 14 games as well throughout the season, so not many at all. His only goal coming in the league, as we already said, 3 assists altogether, all of those coming in the league also. So in other competitions didn't really play much, to be fair. Didn't play a single Champions League game, and he started twice in the cup but didn't do anything across his 3 cup competition appearances. So interesting to see then how our 3 players' seasons have really varied from season 1 to season 2. Martinez looks like the only player to really take on and build from that first season. We said with those limited amount of appearances he really took his chance, got his face in front of Klopp to say, start me, I deserve to start, and this time he has, and he scored goals again. The other 2, it's not looking too good, is it? Let's head to season number 3 and let's actually see if they're still there. I wouldn't be surprised if either of them or both of them do leave Liverpool. The 3rd and final season is here then. It looks like Arsenal have won some sort of trophy. Arteta praised by Arsenal supporters, so I mean, fair play for them. Let's search Liverpool and see how they have done this time around. I can't spell. Here they are. They've won the league for the 3rd season in a row. Very impressive. Martinez in there up top. Thiago back in the side, so he's still there. And Koulibaly's still there. So actually, out of the 3 seasons, they've all managed to keep their place in Liverpool's team. So let's have a look at their competitions, as we always do, to start and see how they performed. Not very well in the Champions League. Got knocked out by Barcelona in the first knockout rounds from the last 16. didn't progress very far this time around. Knocked out in the semi-finals of the FA Cup by Arsenal, which I guess they went on to win in the end. Carabao Cup knocked out by Manchester United, and then runners-up in the Community Shield. So actually their worst season so far, Liverpool. Didn't win any of the cup competitions. Didn't really get that far. Got to 2 semi-finals and the last 16, but did come home with the Premier League title. This time going back up to 93 points, more towards the tallies that we're used to seeing them get. Manchester City only 2 points behind though, which is very impressive. Let's start off by looking at Koulibaly, but first we'll look at the defensive record of Liverpool to see they've only conceded 26 goals, which might be even less than the first season. I can't quite remember now. But Koulibaly is back in the team, well, was at least for the last game. Let's see how many games he did play altogether this time around. 16 games then, 2 more than the last season. A player of the match rating as well. So one game he really stood out and really played well. A 7.04 average rating, so he's always hovered around this 7 mark, this time getting just above the previous 2 seasons. No goals or assists, however, did get 2 assists actually in the cup competitions, which is good to see. Started 13 games in the league, 17 altogether, 10 sub appearances, so it's still very much a rotation player, an impact sub, if you can have an impact sub who's a centre-back. It's not really gone as well for Koulibaly as I thought it would do, and as I think it will if he does move to Liverpool. I think he would go straight in as a starting centre-back next to Van Dijk, but it doesn't look like Klopp has seen him that way in this save. So this is why we do it. We like to see what happens, and he hasn't played that much for Liverpool. Moving on then to Thiago. I don't know. 31 years old now though. £58 million is how much he's worth. Attributes are still outstanding. His pace is starting to drop, as his physicals are in general, to be fair. How many games did he play this time around? 22 times in the Premier League, scoring once as well. Only managed 4 goals over his 3 seasons. I suppose he's not really known as a goal-scoring midfielder as such. He got 4 assists this time around, 6.88 average rating. So actually, throughout the whole 3 seasons, his average rating's been quite poor in all fairness. Started 20 games in all competitions, 13 of those in the league, 1 coming in the cup, and then the rest of his appearances being sub appearances, 13 in fact. 5 assists altogether, the other one coming in the Champions League. And yeah, not too much to shout about from Thiago's point of view either, to be fair. I think with Thiago, it's a really hard one to call in how much he would play if he does come into this Liverpool side. I mean, as we said earlier, their centre midfield is kind of bit of the workhorse in the 4-3-3 they play. But you look at Henderson, Fabinho and Keita and Wijnaldum and Oxlade-Chamberlain, they've got some unbelievable centre midfielders. I mean, you could even bring Minamino into that, who we haven't really seen yet since he moved in January. Thiago's a top quality player, and it looks like he probably is on his way to Liverpool, to be fair. Be interesting to see how much he'd play. And finally then, hopefully the new star striker, Lautaro Martinez, who's actually wanted by Manchester City. Would you believe it? I mean, we can do three episodes with you, Lautaro, if you want to. £84 million now the star striker is worth. I mean, again, is that the identical Argentinian record to the last episode? I think it might be. 27 goals from 33 appearances is unbelievable, to be fair. Very well done from him. How many games did he play this time around? 27, so slightly less than the season before, but scoring the same amount of goals in the Premier League. So again, very good from him. 3 assists, 3 player of the matches, 7.63 average rating, so just below what he got in that first season from only playing 16 games. 20 goals from his 36 starts in all competitions, getting 1 penalty from those and 3 assists as well, as we already saw in the Premier League. So out of the 3 players, Lautaro Martinez has definitely been the one to impress me compared to the other 2. I mean, it's the same actually with both episodes. Last episode, he did very well at Barcelona. I think he's done quite well here at Liverpool as well. Again, we touched on it throughout the episode. I think he would be that alternate option to Firmino. I don't think he'd come in and be that star striker straight away. He's a different type of player, of course, so it's good to have that type of player in terms of squad depth, and of course he's only young, only 21 years old, 22 probably now in real life, so has got a long way to go in his career and a long way to develop as well into something very, very special in world football. Of course, he's a hot prospect that everyone wants, but if Liverpool could get their hands on him, I mean, they are already an unbelievable outfit. They would get even better with him in the team. So there we go then, ladies and gents. That is the end of this Liverpool episode. I really hope you have enjoyed. If you have, please leave a like rating down below. Leave a comment. Tell me what transfers you want to see. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit the little bell. Get some notifications. We're aiming for 500 subscribers by the end of FM20. It's a big ask, but I think we're closing in on that 300 now. So if we could hit that, that would be amazing. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon.